god, fucking this again, isn't it? I don't know if I'm live. I think I'm live. Let me give it a check. Drop a comment if you can hear everything, if the audio is all good and all that. I think it's fine. It looks okay. On my side it says I'm live, but on my phone it says that the stream hasn't started. Live? Okay, great. Let's go. All right. Then I guess my phone is just not good. All right. Well, so the reason I'm live today is I was speaking to one of my lawyers, and she said that I shouldn't do live streams anymore. So I'm doing a live stream today. Because fuck the government and all that. Definitely joined the clan of people who hates far-reaching governments and stuff. That's happened over the past couple of weeks. So here I am. And the reason I wanted to do it is I really do enjoy these live streams. I really do enjoy going live with you guys and speaking to you all. And I also know that you guys find these more informative than videos most of the time. So why not? Because there has been some volatility in the market today. So what we had today, as you know, is, and as I'm going, by the way, as usual, please keep dropping your questions in the comments, and I'll get to them as much as I can. So what we had with Bitcoin today is a breakout out of this. Well, we broke out yesterday, but what we had today was a continuation of where we were over here. So it's pretty clear now in hindsight. We didn't end up breaking up again as fast as I wanted to. We were actually trading within a falling wedge pattern, which is good. It was a good sign that we ended up stalling and having a continuation pattern. But what I didn't like is the fact that it took so long for Bitcoin to actually make its move higher. And I told you that, because of that, we could be looking at some weakness in the market. And I think that we're seeing that. What we have over here is yes, we did break out of the symmetrical triangle, and then yes, we did make a second leg up. So these are really, really good signs. I'm not doubting that. I'm not going to try and talk shit about that. But what we don't have today is we don't have a very big rise, right? I mean, the previous rise we had, it took us up to $11,200. And by the way, of course, we didn't do all of that in one go. I mean, there were retracements along the way. It was, it wasn't just one straight massive lightsaber candle up to resistance. But that massive lightsaber candle up to resistance is actually what I would have expected to have today, for example, or yesterday, because we did break out of a symmetrical triangle. So this time was quite different, but we didn't have that same strength. And I think, that's why it doesn't come as a huge surprise that we haven't really hit the key resistance at 11,200. So I see someone saying no volume. Oh, okay, you mean trading volume, right? I thought you meant no volume on this live stream. Yeah, I removed the volume indicator. I should probably put it back. But I think, yeah, the fact that, I told you that we had some weakness in the market yesterday, and we're seeing that because we didn't end up rising super high today. But again, these are just small things. This isn't significant for the market analysis today. But it's just a little thing where if you're paying attention, you'll notice these things. And on this occasion, it doesn't really mean much in the market. But what's very important is that there are occasions where noticing small things like this can make or save a lot of money. And that's why I like to pay attention to small signs like this. Very, very important. It is the small things a lot of the time that will really screw you over as a trader. So you have to be very, very thorough with these things. And so looking at the chart over here, that it looks very much like we will still end up rising into this resistance. But if we carry that same level of weakness that we had, where, I mean, it's not even weakness. We don't have weakness in the market. We just don't have enough strength. If we carry that same lack of strength kind of attitude into this resistance area, then I'm definitely expecting a rejection. And I think that would be very, very good if we do end up getting rejected off this line, because, yeah, I mean, it gives Bitcoin an opportunity to retrace by a couple $100, so that, people like myself can enter long positions and then trade it higher. That is definitely a pattern that I'm seeing playing out in the market. A couple good questions so far. One person asking, you never mentioned fundamental analysis in your analysis, and yeah, I mean it's good that you brought that up, and the reason I don't talk about fundamentals and their impact is that they typically don't matter. You know, there were some really convincing bits of news over the past couple of days that would have made Bitcoin break either down or break up. There were some really, really convincing bits of news. But what I said to you one of the recent videos is that it doesn't matter what those news pieces could be. What we know as a fact is that Bitcoin was nearing the end of this symmetrical triangle, right? We were very, very close to the end of this symmetrical triangle. And so naturally, I would just expect that we end up kind of getting a big move relatively soon. That was a technical take that I had on the market. And, you know, the nature of these things is there would have been 5 amazing reasons, or more than 5, there would have been millions of amazing reasons for Bitcoin dropping down out of the symmetrical triangle or rising higher out of the symmetrical triangle. In any case, in any direction, there are a lot of reasons. And really the one reason that doesn't change, which isn't down to interpretation, is the fact that we were at the end of the symmetrical triangle. So that's why I don't pay attention to fundamentals, because they are correct in both directions, and I don't like that. That means it's not reliable. So that's why my videos are always technical, you know, because the fundamentals, you can bend that. Words you can bend, words can lie, numbers can't. So that's my take on what's going on over here. And another question asking me what's my take on the UK ban stuff. So for those of you who don't know, the FCA has released some new regulations which are coming out next year, and it bans exchanges from selling derivatives and different things like that to retail clients, and that's pretty serious. It's the same ban that America has. The only difference is that it doesn't ban UK citizens from using them. It just bans UK companies from offering them. So it's a little bit more lenient than the US, but in any case, the US and the UK are both tied in terms of making stupid decisions. So I'm not going to let myself talk too much about that because this isn't a politics channel, but the UK definitely following suit and just trying to one-up the US with every stupid decision that these two nations both make. And that's where we're at the moment, really. So that's my take on it. But going back to the analysis, so I am expecting that rejection over at resistance. Let's take a look at what some of these indicators are showing. I got a question asking me what are my favorite indicators, and actually up to this point in this live stream, I haven't used a single indicator. I've just been looking at basic diagonal and horizontal lines, and that's these are my favorite indicators, which is to say I don't have one because I don't really use them. Indicators are always just supplemental to me. They only supplement my analysis. They don't actually, you know, contribute a whole lot. So the 1 hour not really showing us a whole lot, but let's see what the 4 hour is showing us, because I think this is going to be a little bit more interesting to look at. I'm having some troubles loading my chart today because of the YouTube live stream. So what am I going to do? I'm going to do this. Yeah, I hope I'm still live. I've closed the live stream on my laptop so that I don't get any lag. Hopefully it doesn't cause a problem. And then on the 4 hour chart, I mean, we did end up having, you know, some sort of a breakout. Let's zoom in a little bit closer. I mean, we didn't have anything on the Ichimoku cloud over here, but I think we are starting to see an expansion on our support. But really the star of the show, as usual, is just here on the 1 day chart, where we have now, and this is big in my opinion, we have now managed to break out of the resistance area. We have managed to break out of this, the support area of this Ichimoku cloud, which is big news as far as I'm concerned. That is a very good sign within the market, because it is showing us that, you know, so far, and like I said, this support, it pretty much ran out of time to be effective, but it is showing us that it's worked. It has worked, and it worked in the past. So this is a really good sign. And you know what? This is at a time where I think it would be very easy to make people worried and people like myself to be in disbelief, right? Because I'm telling you that I'm doubting the strength of this rally. But that's normal. If this does turn out to be a real rally, and this guys, is an example of me. You know, I don't ever say that I have perfect analysis or anything like that. And one of the best things that I feel I do all the time is, and definitely the thing that contributes the most to my health and safety as a trader in the long run is that I analyze where I could be wrong. I analyze myself for where I could be wrong. And here's the deal. I am skeptical about this rally, and everybody knows it, and some people get very annoyed about it. And you know what? We have just reconfirmed a long-term support area because we've broken out of it, right? This is the first time we've done that since how long? Let's take a look. It's the first time we've done that since 80 days, right? So we're talking, 2.5 months, nearly 3 since we've done this. And actually, we've been struggling within this area of support for over a month, right? So there's good reason for me to be skeptical right now. We have been showing too much weakness in the market. And up until today, or yesterday, we've also been setting lower highs in the market consistently. So we are still in a lower highs pattern, but it's not as strong anymore, which is an absolutely great sign. But that's all to say that I feel I have some good reasons for doubting this trend. But at the same time, the way a trend like this, after hibernating and pausing for 30 days, would come back to life, looks like this. It looks like this when a trend goes from being strong to weak to strong again. When it makes these shifts back into being a strong market, it doesn't seem believable, but the early warning signs, the undoubtable early warning signs are there. And it's just a case of, are you sober enough to see them? And over here, I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it that it absolutely could be, meaning we've now confirmed the support cloud and bounced out of it at a time where, it was really, really closing up. We have done the right thing over here. So if you believe that the market is... What's happening here? This is very annoying. If you believe that the market is going to be... Oh, no. Okay. I think I lost connection there. Are we back? I have no idea what happened. I think the wired connection dropped out for a second. What was I saying? Yeah, if we do take a look at this Ichimoku cloud once again, we go back onto the daily chart. Just drop a comment, letting me know if we're live again, please. If you are watching live. What we do have over here is a situation where this was really cutting it very, very close, but at the last minute, Bitcoin has ended up making good use of its situation, and it has, just ended up making its move higher, and I think that's really, really good. I think it's very, very impressive for Bitcoin that it took a bad situation, and it's now taken the first initial step to turning that bad situation good again, and I really, really like that. If we do get rejected here, though, what we could be looking at, and this is an evolution of what we already had, if we do get rejected here, is we could be looking at, us trading within a kind of bear flag type pattern. Now, that's if we end up getting rejected at roughly 11.2. We will be looking at us trading basically within a rectangular pattern where we just start trading sideways in a zigzag type motion, something a little bit like this, just for an amount of time. I don't think this is going to happen. I think that there's a lot of things which is making this market volatile at the moment, and I think that those signs of volatility are going to stay within the market. But big important but, if we do get rejected, we do open ourselves up to this kind of pattern, but then again, the fact that we did end up breaking out of the symmetrical triangle, I think what that's done basically, in my opinion, is the market is guaranteeing us some relative volatility over the next couple of days and weeks, just because we have come out of a continuation pattern, and usually we do see quite a bit of volatility. So if we do end up trading downwards, only thing I'm really expecting is a support hit until before we end up rising higher, unless we just end up dumping straight through the floor, which is entirely possible because that's how these things have happened in the past. So it could happen, but I don't think it's smart to bet on those types of things because they don't happen super often. So Dragonfly, please stop spamming. I will analyze everything, but just don't spam the comment section. And so that's what I'm looking at as far as this pattern goes. If we can end up breaking up, then you guys know what the deal is. We have got that resistance level overhead. We've got a little bit of resistance from all of these support, from all of these wicks and candles, and then the very same when we get slightly higher. But as the title says, this is Bitcoin's great filter test. It is Bitcoin's test for glory, and looking at new yearly highs, they would be right around the corner if we manage to rise. In my opinion, probably just above this blue line, we will be looking at a very, very nice rise for the rest of the year, and that could happen relatively soon, because here's the deal. It does dump very, very quickly, but when Bitcoin breaks resistance levels, it usually flies, and we have a lot of evidence of that. Take a look at this. This green line was a heavy area of resistance for Bitcoin earlier on in this year, around the middle of this year. It was a very, very significant area of resistance for Bitcoin, which Bitcoin was really struggling to overcome. And then when we did finally overcome this area of resistance, look at how quickly we pumped higher. And I entirely believe that that this is something that could end up repeating over here if we end up breaking these resistance levels. So the green line that I have drawn for you over here was a very big area of resistance for Bitcoin in the past, and I'm thinking that this green line is similar. So if we do end up breaking above this green line, then I think it would be entirely possible to see another very big rise, just like we saw in this candle, happening again over here. I definitely think that there is a good possibility of that happening, just because this is where we'll start to get fear of missing out entering the market again. And guys, all it will take is an asset like gold rallying really, really hard. I've been keeping an eye on gold, as you know. I also mentioned to you that this resistance area was getting weaker on gold, so I was expecting a breakout relatively soon, and that's exactly what we got. We did end up breaking higher. It's facing resistance from the green box that it's in at the moment, as well as this diagonal trending resistance line. It's getting rejected right there. I mean, look at how beautifully gold ends up respecting these levels. It's moving so well, and I've been giving VIP members updates on this over the past 24 hours. I'm very interested in trading this market very, very soon. So if you do want to see how I'm able to trade gold, of course, all of that information will be for you in the VIP group. And by the way, a lot of people ask me this question: where do I trade gold? I'm trading gold on Prime XBT. They're one of the channel sponsors. Really, really good exchange, because I'm able to trade them using Bitcoin. So all I do is deposit Bitcoin into Prime XBT, and then I can trade gold using leverage with Bitcoin. So that's very, very useful. There's a link to Prime XBT in the description for you if that's something you're interested in. So moving back to the analysis over here. If gold does, for example, end up breaking this resistance level, it doesn't have a lot of resistance overhead. And this is an example of where analyzing a different market can actually make it very, very easy to have an idea for what might happen in the Bitcoin market, because Bitcoin and gold are highly correlated at this point. Bitcoin typically tends to move in the same direction as gold, and I think that's very, very special, because if gold is on the brink of a breakout, then it very much means that Bitcoin could be too. And we are right now at a situation where Bitcoin isn't very difficult to analyze at the moment. It does have a clear trend, and it is respecting support resistance lines and stuff like that. So it's not like Bitcoin is difficult to analyze at the moment, but gold is even clearer, because gold, in my opinion, in my view, only has this resistance from the green box and this diagonal trend line resistance. Beyond that, there isn't really anything holding gold back, in my opinion. And if gold does end up rising, then like I said, Bitcoin could too, and that might end up being quite useful for Bitcoin. Why does my Wi-Fi keep dropping out? 1 second. I'm gonna have to fix this right now. Give me a second. This is very, very strange with this connection. All right, we're back. Here we are. Sorry about that delay. I just kept on having issues with the network, so I've ended up switching the wired connection here. But here we are. We as I said, gold doesn't have a whole lot of resistance left. So if my lawyer cut my line, this is so if gold does end up breaking out, then I think that could be the same for Bitcoin. And the S&P 500 is also in a similar situation at the moment. It's very close to its all-time high, and the S&P 500 also doesn't have resistance anymore. The only resistance the S&P 500 index might have from this point onwards is psychological, in my opinion. And if that's the case, then which means that it will end up rising back up to its all-time high or higher. Well, then, like I said, these markets are very highly correlated with Bitcoin, so it could mean a further breakout for Bitcoin. And what does that picture paint? Very simply, this picture, and take a look at this correlation, by the way. I mean, just broadly speaking, it's not exact in terms of where the actual spikes and dips are, but when Bitcoin is rising, the S&P is rising. Typically, there is an exception over here, but when Bitcoin starts crashing, so is the S&P 500. When they make temporary recoveries, all of these things are happening at the same time. And so, what does that mean for Bitcoin? Well, it means that if Bitcoin is going to end up rising up just because it gets carried through by all of these other markets, for example, the S&P 500, the gold market, the other commodities and other indices and the like. If that's the case, then Bitcoin will end up getting carried with it, most likely, in my opinion, and that means it's going to get carried right through resistance. And if there's enough excitement in the real world markets, then that could be very, very good for Bitcoin to, again, essentially give Bitcoin the very same lightsaber rise that it had earlier this year, to give Bitcoin that rise right here. I don't even need to tell you how much volatility that means we're going to see in this market. I mean, obviously none of it is guaranteed, but that to me means that this market is about to turn very, very volatile. It already has turned very, very volatile, and obviously that means there's going to be a lot of trading opportunities. And when it comes to these trading opportunities, for me, it always falls down to making sure that you are as prepared as possible to tackle them if you want to make money from them. Of course, if you don't care and you just want to sit there on the sides with watching everyone else make money, that's completely fine too. But if you want a piece of that cake, or if you want the whole cake like me, it pays. It quite literally pays very, very well to know what you're doing and studying the market very, very carefully before you start putting money in. And for that very reason, VIP is there waiting for you. Here is an example of a member who was in VIP in the past and ended up joining once more in the future. He ended up taking a small break. He messaged me saying that I bet he can't tell. I bet that he bets I can't tell when he joined VIP, and then showed me a screenshot of his account balance over time. It was absolutely beautiful, a very, very nice welcome back. And I asked him if he made back the fee, to which he replied he made it back ×8. So and that was in less than 4 days. So this was unbelievable. This is obviously one of the more mind-blowing examples of what is possible in VIP. Not starting from an absolutely massive account balance and the like, but really shooting it very, very high. I mean, this is, what is this? This is just in a couple of days, going from, I don't know what this number was at the bottom, but all the way up to 0.8 BTC roughly in just a few days. And obviously at the current market rate, that is something like $8,800, which is just absolutely crazy. Very, very cool. And all of this is possible is because VIP members are able to see what healthy trading looks like consistently over time. We've had a lot of people, for example, taking up our yearly plan this year, and with that gaining access to our advanced FORFLIES Academy, where I'm giving you an A to Z of absolutely everything I know, an A to Z rundown of everything I know in the game of trading, pretty much designed right from the ground up, assuming that you know nothing, assuming that you're you could be a chef or anything completely unrelated to trading, and I'm giving you all of the knowledge I have, starting from what is a Bitcoin, what does it mean to send Bitcoin, all the way up to the very advanced concepts and analysis and trading psychology and the like. And if you want to gain access to all of that content, we are running a massive massive sale for you to jump in. As I said, we have had a lot of people taking up that deal just in the past couple of days as well, in preparation for this volatility, because everyone knows it's coming. And the take of these people is that they want to have the best footing possible to tackle this next wave, essentially, of volatility, because it looks like it could be pretty big. We've got the threat of lockdowns coming ahead, and we've also got the US election and many things just in the pipeline at the moment, and for that reason, I mean, this is the time where I'm very hot on the market already. You've seen what our performance has looked like. I've shared a lot of it with you publicly just over the past month, but of course it's all going behind the closed doors in VIP for the most part. So if you want to gain access to it, then you can do that by clicking on the first link in the description down below, then click on @FORFLIES and then send message to ask me how to join VIP, and we'll give you the information on that. Shout out to everybody who has been enrolling over the past couple of days and even jumping into the yearly plan where they get free access to that Advanced Academy course. It is just an immense amount of value, very valuable to be in, and if you just want to find out what it is, or even set up a phone call with a member of our team, then we're open to do that, and we can do that for you. So there we go. That's what I'm seeing on these markets over here. Nice amount of resistance, but hopefully, it shouldn't. I mean, I shouldn't say nice, but an intimidating amount of resistance, in my opinion. But if these other markets do start to rise, then here's the other thing. If we do start to see a rise on the S&P 500, for example, or on gold, then I mean, it's the typical thing that happens all the time in these markets. You've got wealthy people with a lot of money making a lot of money, and what happens when you make a lot of money? You get excited and you wanna make even more money because it's addicting. There is a rush that comes with it, and a lot of the time when people do end up making money in safe markets, like in gold, for example, or like in the S&P 500 index market, then their extra trickle-down money ends up trickling down into assets like Bitcoin. And this is where the magic happens, because when that money from confidence ends up getting poured into Bitcoin, well, what is Bitcoin compared to the S&P 500 or gold? I mean, it might take, and this is just a very rough example, it's a meaningless example, but it might take $1 billion to move gold up by 1%, but it would only take Bitcoin $1 million to move up by 1%. So you can already get a feel for how volatile Bitcoin becomes in the face of volatility in the global markets, and I think that because of that, it has a really good setup to be rising very nicely over the next little bit, if it does end up breaking this resistance level. Of course, something terrible could happen with the US election, and Trump goes back into hospital and Joe Biden gets sick as well, and then everyone really starts to panic. I mean, any of these things are possible, but I don't like to plan for contingencies like that, because you spend too much time worrying about something that has a low chance of happening, and then you don't end up making money in the first place. And the extension to that is, first of all, you always worry that some black swan event might end up happening. You always worry that something very unlikely, like Bitcoin drops down to $9,000 tomorrow. I mean, of course, it might be likely that it falls down here, but not in one day. But you keep worrying about, random crazy events like that happening, to the point where you don't even allow yourself to make money in the moment, day to day. And so actually it's a case of sometimes people are too smart and they're paralyzed by their logic driven mind, to the point where they can't make decisions, and if they can't make decisions, they end up just kind of sitting on the sidelines and not making any money, while the guy who's just slightly stupider than you isn't smart enough to see all of the risks, so to speak, so he just ends up trading. And then the magical part of all of this is that that black swan event might end up coming along, right? That black swan event of, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, I shouldn't say it because I'll be put on a watch list, but both presidential candidates ended up falling very sick, and then the stock market comes crashing and everything's terrible, like that coronavirus market crash we saw in February, March earlier this year, right? The one over here. We could get a black swan event like that happening, but then that idiot, that guy who's just slightly stupider than you, who doesn't sit on the sidelines as much as you because they just don't have that much of a filter as you do, well, they have a stop loss. So So when that black swan event does end up happening, they don't suffer a loss all the way down to $3,000. They just have a stop loss where they get cut off. And so they do lose a bit of money, but they've been making more money along the ride than the boring guy who sits on the sidelines. So even when the black swan event comes along, they're richer. And that to me is what trading always comes down to. It is always a psychological battle. I speak to a lot of people on a day-by-day basis, and people are saying things like, hey, I don't even know how to use an exchange or whatever. And it's really a case of understanding, first of all, that those things can be taught very, very easily, but they aren't even the real problems. The real problem as a trader is conquering your own psyche and dominating your mind before you let it dominate you. And that is the real challenge as far as I'm concerned as a trader. If we have more questions, then drop them in the comments as we go along. Just gonna take a read through the comments and see what we have over here. So somebody asking, do the Forex pairs on PrimeXBT also use Bitcoin? So yeah, as far as I know, you can only deposit Bitcoin onto PrimeXBT. They don't even require KYC to open an account, so that's going to be pretty cool for some people. And yeah, you would trade Forex pairs using the Bitcoin, but obviously it will be the dollar equivalent of what you hold in Bitcoin. So yeah, and if you are interested in trading Forex, CFDs, and the like on PrimeXBT, then there is a link in the description for you to check it out and see if it's something for you. I also have a tutorial on that exchange, so you can just search it up on YouTube by typing this in after the live stream. Maybe open a new tab and type this in and get ready to watch this after the stream. It's a very, very good tutorial. And do I feel the Ichimoku works under the 4-hour cloud? Yeah, sure. I mean, it works when the market is trending. You know, here is an example. Let's take it over to what happened over here, right? I mean, we had a lot of volatility when Bitcoin was making this big drop from the $11,000-$12,000 range into the $10,000 range. We had a big drop, and take a look at what the Ichimoku was saying. I mean, I think it was pretty reliable. It did, you know, we didn't really use it as resistance up until this point over here, and it worked. It did end up giving us run rejection, but the more interesting thing to me is that afterwards it was a very, 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 very slightly reliable use of support as well. It was a mostly reliable indicator for support on the 1-hour chart. So yes, I do think that it's a useful indicator, but only when the market is trending. If the market doesn't really have a clear trend, then it's quite meaningless and it just looks like this. But that's why we have to zoom out. And that takes me back to this, because what this means right here, this breakout, is very significant to me, because this does look like a small sign. But in hindsight, imagine if the price did end up absolutely skyrocketing from here, right? Let me show you what that would look like. I always forget where this fucking tool is. Where is this tool? I always forget where to find it. Here it is. You know what? Just imagine what it would look like if Bitcoin ended up following a pattern that, I don't know, and this is just to make a point, right? Just to make a point. How would it look if Bitcoin ended up following this kind of pattern right here? How would it look to you if Bitcoin ended up following this kind of pattern, and we really, really zoom out? Then we would know in hindsight very clearly that the moment at which Bitcoin broke out of the Ichimoku cloud was the big buy signal. That's the point I'm making. Right now, obviously, it doesn't look so clear. It obviously doesn't look so clear because we've only just broken out. But in hindsight, if this exact pattern ends up forming in the market, then it's very, very clear that the moment that Bitcoin broke above the Ichimoku cloud was the real sign that, you know, it was ready to really start trending higher. And that's always the nature of these types of patterns. When you have a major move in the market beginning, nobody believes it, or very few people believe it. And again, this is an example where even I don't fully believe it. You know, I think that, you know, just purely going off what I see right now, obviously it has a good setup to be rising very, very well. But it absolutely doesn't give me the same kind of confidence that you would expect to see if you were analyzing this in hindsight, and that's always just how these markets go. So that's why I'm not holding my breath or anything like that for this at the moment. It looks shaky at best, and that's just not something I'm ready to get on board with. It's definitely not something I'd feel comfortable putting my money into as it stands at the moment. Getting a lot of questions to analyze the dollar index, so let's go ahead and do that. We do have, oh wow, okay, we do have a drop on the dollar index. A long time ago, I think I even made a live stream. Last time I went live, maybe I was talking about this, I can't remember. But I did talk about how it had resistance with this trend line over here, and we did end up breaking out. So this is... Did Bitcoin end up falling at this time? Let me take a look. Let's overlay the Bitcoin chart with the dollar index. And dollar index was rising. At this point, Bitcoin was falling. Yeah, so I can show this to you with two very, very simple vertical lines. So one vertical line here and one here. And yeah, we can see pretty clearly that during this time, Bitcoin did end up suffering a small drop. There we go. This is where the bulk of the rise was happening. Bitcoin was dropping at this time while the dollar index was rising. So that's exactly what we would expect. And right now, it's coming down to the support level. So it could be getting a bounce over here. I think there's a couple reasons for why the dollar index is going to bounce relatively soon. Just going off the technicals over here, I'm not going to analyze the U.S. economy. That's too difficult for me. But what we have is it has dropped by quite a significant amount. I mean, this is quite a big candle as far as the dollar index would usually move, especially lately. I mean, it has had series of big candles in the past, but this one is quite big. So that's number one. When we don't have a lot of big candles in a row already, we're probably not going to set them. We're probably not going to have them. And we do have this resistance. I mean, the support area over here. Previously a strong area of resistance. So could it turn into an area of support over here? Possibly. Something is working against it though. Something is working against the dollar index's favor at the moment, and that is this rejection at the 382 Fibonacci retracement. Take a look at this. I drew this retracement for you from May, April of 2014, and it stretches all the way up to the high that it set in 2016 at the end of the year. And ever since this point, it has had a very, very beautiful Fibonacci retracement. Take a look at how accurate it is. The 236 level has quite a bit of interaction with just random resistance and support hits. A lot of fluctuation around this price level. I don't even know if you'd call it a price level, but around this level at 98. Then the 382, it has even more confluence around this area. There's a lot of support at this area. There's a lot of resistance at this area. And most recently, we did end up getting rejected at this very area. So I think that that's showing us quite a heavy area of resistance. And then the 0.5 level, nice spike over here. It's just very, very precise. Nearly got a spike over here as well. So these are good signs. And the 618 line also being respected very well. In fact, the 618 retracement just so happened to be the bottom for this index. It just so happened to be the bottom for the dollar index, where it ended up falling down to 88 and then made a very, very big rise all the way up to 102. Again, these moves are big deals on a chart like this. This is a big, big deal. It's just moving from 88 to 102. It might not sound like a lot to you and I. I mean, that's only like, what, 25%. But for this kind of index, I guess it's not really a market, is it? But for this kind of index, this is pretty significant. And then, because this Fibonacci has been respected so well, we know that there is resistance over here. And with that in mind, I'm actually not optimistic that this is going to end up rising higher, because this resistance area with the Fibonacci, it almost acts like a dark shadow, like a magnet repelling the price downwards. It's like It's like there's a south magnet here and a south magnet here, and so it's being repelled and it's being pushed down. That's what it looks like to me on this chart at the moment, because we got such a strong rejection of this level, and we've already seen such strong hits off this level, and that's another factor right there for why these markets might continue to rise higher. Because when the dollar starts to lose value, we typically see money flow into gold as a hedge, and that's precisely when markets, indices like the S&P 500 also rise. Just a very quick note over here. This is not my area of expertise at all, but I think I know something here which other people might not, and so I want to share it anyway. And what this is when you see things like the S&P 500 rising higher and gold rising higher, obviously this is something that Trump or any politician would like to take credit for, because it happens while they're in power. But my friends, at the very same time, you're about to go from broke to woke right here. This is going to change your life. At the very same time that markets or indices like the S&P 500 are rising higher, just gonna mute this guy writing in Arabic. Is it even Arabic? I don't know. Maybe it's Urdu. Because nobody can read it. But at the same time, and by the way, I have nothing against Arabs. Someone's gonna take offense to that. I fucking love the United Arab Emirates and the Arabian Peninsula in general. In fact, I might even move there out of the UK because the regulations here are so annoying. But the last thing we want is spam in a different language, really. But back on topic now. This is really going to blow your mind when we have these kind of indices like the S&P rising, and you've got presidents taking credit for it or whatever. At the very same time, while these markets are rising, the dollar is losing value. So are you actually getting richer? It's just a question for you to sit with, because the dollars you hold are getting weaker, and so naturally, obviously, as a result of that, the stocks and products you own will get more expensive because the price goes up, because the dollar you have can buy less. And so, it's almost like taxes getting lowered, but then inflation getting dialed up. So you're still getting taxed. You just can't notice it because you don't know this. And so at the very same time where you might be making money on the S&P 500, each dollar you own just got weaker. So did you actually get richer? Basically, is the question. And I think that if more people knew this, they would be making much smarter decisions with where they put their money. And I'm not going to say more on this topic because I don't know a whole lot about it. And if that's something that interests you, then go ahead and listen to a podcast with Peter Schiff. You can spell his name like this. He's on the Joe Rogan podcast. So if this is a topic that interests you, just go ahead and type this into YouTube. Go ahead and listen to it after this video. He's somebody who you can listen to for hours at a time, like me, and you'll never really get tired of hearing what he has to say. So go ahead and listen to him if this sounds like something you would find interesting, and he'll talk a lot more about this, and then just go ahead and study macroeconomics too. I think it's interesting to study. It doesn't really help you as a trader, but it's just good to know if you're in this space. So shout out to Suresh Yo-Yo. This is his first live stream. He's very, very excited. Welcome to the live stream. Good to have you here. I love doing these live streams. Like I said, my lawyer today told me not to do live streams, and that's because she just thinks that the UK government wouldn't like it. So I had to go live, and I had to do a live stream. So here I am, and yeah, I think I've pretty much covered most of what I wanted to. If you guys have any final questions, then you can go ahead and drop them in the comments. But from what I'm seeing over here, like I said, we are looking at resistance. We have the potential to enter a sideways trading channel before we potentially end up trading up or down, but I think that this isn't likely to happen. I think that what's more likely to happen is we do end up getting a breakout relatively soon, because we broke out of this symmetrical triangle. So this really does change everything. And seeing that, for example, markets like gold don't have a lot of resistance anymore, and markets like the S&P 500 also don't have a lot of resistance anymore until they end up reaching all-time highs. Shout out to FM Scout. Yes, let's push these likes all the way up to 100, and if you want to get into the free Telegram channel, follow the first link in the description. But going back to the analysis, because these markets don't have much resistance anymore, well, I think that these markets are going to be carrying Bitcoin higher, and that is so important. If it ends up carrying Bitcoin higher and there starts to be a little bit more excitement in the space and a little bit of fear of missing out, then we can very easily be able to expect a big lightsaber, massive $1,000 candle pumping Bitcoin very high. I definitely think that's around the corner. And what's so important about this, with Bitcoin potentially getting a lightsaber candle, is that if we do end up getting, and let me be technical about this for 1 second. How big was this? From wick to wick, we ended up rising by 1,400. So let's just say it starts from over here. If we rise by 1,400, that puts us at exactly the high we set over here. That's going to put us right over here. Imagine pumping all the way this high. Well, the good news is if we do get this high, we have cleared pretty much every resistance level as well. And I think that's going to mean we have very clear highs, clear skies to rise higher. Hence the title of this live stream. Are we looking at new yearly highs soon? Because if we do break these resistance levels, then I think there's not going to be a lot of resistance overhead, and rising up to $14,000 should be very easy. But more important than that, just rising up to the all-time high at $20,000 is very much within the scope of Bitcoin if it ends up seeing those kinds of rises. It could just be as simple, and look, I'm not taking sides because I hate politics in general, but it could just be the case of Bitcoin getting, Trump getting elected as president in the US, and people will generally, and I'm just making a comment over here, I'm just pointing out, making an observation, people will generally think that if Trump gets elected, that's good for the markets. Obviously, it's not. It doesn't change anything because he's an idiot too, like everybody else. But that's what people will think. And so if that ends up being the case, we've got another very big potential for a push. And all of those things could be taking Bitcoin very high in the near term. Like I said, that volatility has re-entered the market as of yesterday. I've already been getting messages from VIP members of really big profits. Unfortunately, I didn't end up getting any of them fresh for you in this video, but that's not a problem because I've got this one for you right here. Another one over here, this member over here making his first trade in VIP, netting over 300% profit. And he did also take profit at $10,000 as well. So this was on a different trade a while back, but he did end up paying off the entire fee of joining plus some more within less than a week of joining. Same for this guy who ended up joining VIP earlier this year as well. He joined VIP for the second or third time, I believe, and he made back the fee times 8 within less than 4 days. And you can see his account growth over here. It literally, this graph, this chart in total spans about 10 days or something, or less than that. Well, 6 days from the 7th to the 13th. And you can just see how his account blew up once he joined VIP. And I've got to mention that obviously these results aren't typical. Not everybody is getting an 8 times return on their investment as soon as they join VIP, and it depends on you more than anything. But what you've got in the VIP group, in my opinion, is a very good starting point to start to make really good profits, and a lot of people have been able to turn amazing results from it. So if you want to find out exactly what's on offer to help you see similar returns like this, then you can follow the first link in the description down below to ask me about VIP, then click on @FORFLIES, and then click on send message to ask me how to join and find out what our massive discount is at the moment. Like I said, now is the time, with all of this volatility looming overhead, to be prepared in this market to take advantage of the beautiful patterns that we could be seeing. We're already seeing them, and a lot of the people who've ended up taking up that yearly plan lately with free access to our advanced FORFLIES Academy very much went into it thinking that they want to be able to prepare themselves as good as possible, as well as possible, to take advantage of this next cycle. We get cycles all the time where it's very, very possible to make a lot of money. We get cycles like this all the time. But right now, a new one has just started. And like I said, with the election overhead, with the second lockdowns coming along, with gold and the S&P 500 right on the brink of all-time highs, what does that mean for the crypto market? It means that we could be looking at an extreme period of volatility where things could be bigger than they were before, just because we've got a crazy mix of things going on all at the same time. And my God, that makes it a beautiful time to be a trader. That makes it a very, very advantageous time to be a trader who is prepared and prepped with everything that they need to trade very, very well. And I certainly hope, and my intention is to give every single VIP member that opportunity, so that if they do choose to trade these markets when these things turn very, very hot, they are prepared with everything they need to absolutely dominate. Once again, shout out to everyone who did end up taking that leap recently. We've had a bunch of people renewing on our yearly plan lately as well, getting ready to really just slay the markets over the next period, because we're not going anywhere. And actually, on the note of the regulations, most likely my company will end up moving overseas. We already have moved overseas. We moved overseas 2 years ago, but we'll end up fully making that transition and you know, get away from the UK government, because it's way too oppressive. So so that's kind of where I stand over there, and that's why we're going to keep running, you know, indefinitely. I have no plans to stop. I mean, this group has been running in some form or another for over 3 years, and I very much intend to hit 6 and so on, just because it's easy work. You know, trading doesn't take a lot of time. A lot of people will come to me and say, "Let me turn on my camera, so I can talk to you again in that cool way." Let me see if this is gonna work. Let me turn on my camera real quick. Can you see me? Here we are. Okay, so I've had oh god, my glasses are blurry. I've had a lot of people say things like, you know, "Sammy, I don't want to spend a lot of time trading," or you know, I've got a job and stuff like that. A bunch of people run businesses who end up joining VIP, and you know, one of the best things about this, and the reason I run this group as well, is that trading, especially the way I do it, it doesn't take a lot of time. You know, the analysis I'm giving you today, it's gotten to a point for me where if I wasn't making this video, I'd be able to gather all of the information I just gave you within like less than 5 minutes. I mean, it just becomes second nature because I've been doing it so much. But to get to that point, it doesn't take a whole lot, in my opinion, and a lot of our members have been able to get there. But crucially, at the beginning, there is that learning time that's needed. You do need to obviously be studying books and studying your mistakes, and even I think using a trading journal is so important. We have a trading journal video in the VIP library where I literally give you a template for my trading journal, so you can copy it and you know, really, and it's very, very in depth. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but if you're a VIP member, you know exactly how to find it, and it's something that makes you very, very thorough about what you do. And so yes, of course, at the beginning there is that learning process that makes it very difficult. You know, I mean, it doesn't make it difficult, but it makes it challenging to get to where you want to be. But once you know how to do the analysis and you've come out the other side of our advanced FORFLIES Academy with over 10 hours of very, very advanced content, once you've come out the other side of it, it's a very simple case of, I mean, for me, I pull out my phone a million times a day, right? I mean, I'm a young guy. It's just normal for me in my generation. And every time I open my phone, I just scroll to the left and I take a look at the price of Bitcoin, and then that's it. And then I get on with the rest of my day. And everyone thinks that I'm super lazy, because actually there's not a lot to do. There's not a lot to do. You know, as a trader of markets like this, all I need to do is keep up to date with the price, keep a mental image of the chart, and then check the chart, like actually sit down and check the chart maybe once a day, because most of the time nothing major changes, and just slightly update my analysis, and then bam, we get a breakout like this. So I would sit down for 5 or 10 minutes. My God, only 5 or 10 minutes, right? I mean, it's not a lot of time, and then I get into actually sitting down to trade. So again, it doesn't take a whole lot of time, and actually, as a young guy with too much money in that sense, and too much free time. More importantly, I need to keep myself occupied, otherwise I end up doing very stupid stuff. And actually, on that note, even with VIP, we've got a bunch of staff, right? So it's not just me. I have a lot of free time. It's the first time me ever talking about this publicly. I want to open a restaurant, which sounds crazy. I'm not even going to tell you more details about it, because why would I start a restaurant, right? It's a very, very weird thing, but it is something I'm quite interested in, and it's going to be giving out healthy food and stuff like that, teaching people how to eat healthy, which I think is so important, because I used to be really, really fat and unhealthy in the past. So that's something that's far away. But just something that I am interested in. Just going to take a look at the chat, see if we have anything else that's interesting in the chat. I'm going to take off my camera as well now. With how many people am I working with? So up to this month, 4 people in the core team. No, 6 people in the core team, and then other people helping out, with supplemental analysis and. I put my camera back on, I guess, because I'm just talking about random stuff. 6 people on the core team, including me, and then other people helping out with random bits of analysis and advice and stuff like that. To me, so yeah, it's a decent size. I mean, it's quite a lot for me to be managing, to be honest with you. But turned out to be simpler than I thought as well. So I'm glad it wasn't. You'll work at my restaurant and set the trades from the cooler. Yeah, do you know what? There's going to be a back room in this restaurant with just all my trading monitors or something. And I see don't do it. Restaurants are too much work for no money. I understand. Actually, my dad used to run restaurants, and he tells me not to as well. But I'm very, very interested in it, and it's going to turn into a franchise. So. I won't be working a whole lot. I'll just hire somebody to manage it. Come to Puerto Rico. I'm not a US citizen, so I don't really have the incentives to do that. And actually, if I'm traveling to that part of the world, I'd rather go to California or something. I don't need to go to Puerto Rico. We've got similar spots like that in Europe, and if it's not in Europe, then it would be close, like. I don't know. I mean, there's a bunch of places. There's Asia as well, which is very, very appealing. I was speaking to a VIP member who believes, and you know what? He said it first, and I was like, that's bullshit. But the more I think about it, what he says is and I'm not even throwing shade, right? I'm just giving commentary on what's happening in the real world, where Asia has this crazy 100-year plan to destabilize the West. And the West just rolling over and taking it in the arse and not even caring, where we're just destroying ourselves from the inside with crazy socialist policies and the like. And Asia just turns out to be the right place to do business, because it's just not as bad in terms of regulations and restrictions and red tape and bureaucracy and all that stuff. So naturally, business ends up moving into Asia, and then you have a brain drain in the West. And really, I mean, the more you think about it, the clearer it gets. Just let that thought stick with you. I'm not even talking about just China or anything like that. I'm talking about just random countries like Singapore or Hong Kong and the like. It makes a lot of sense the more you think about it. And it's because I think they embrace capitalism a lot more than we do in the West. We want to be all about welfare and regulations and stuff, which is cool, just not amazing. And California isn't as nice as you think at the moment. Homeless have really taken over. I mean, I was there just 10 months ago. In fact, I go there quite regularly. And it wasn't that bad. And a lot of it's just talk. Same as London, everyone's like, oh, London's a terrible place, you get stabbed everywhere. No, you don't. It's a normal city. It wasn't that bad. I loved it. I love Cali. In fact, I might move there one day. Just a very, very cool place to be. Let's see if we have any more questions on topic though. Am I long right now? No, I'm not in a position right now. I think I will be very soon. So going short at, I'll take my camera off now so I can show you the chart. Going short at this resistance level makes a lot of sense to me. It's just that I think that with the chance of Bitcoin blowing up, it wouldn't turn out to be very profitable or worth the risk. And so the next opportunity that looks good to me is trading this vacuum. If we do end up, pardon me, rising up into this resistance area, then trading this gap looks very appealing to me. And I mean, it doesn't look like a whole lot, but what's very important is that this gap stretches how much? This gap stretches $300, which is only about, I don't know, 2.5%, something like that, of Bitcoin's price action. So it's not a lot, but 2.5% on a decent amount of leverage can turn out to be a very beautiful trade, and you know, it can provide a lot of leverage, a lot of profit if you apply leverage. If I apply leverage safely, obviously I can't tell you what you should do, but that is a position that I'm interested in trading. And then beyond that, going long above this blue line also looks really good. So so that's what I'm seeing over there. Mark, you live in LA and it's pretty rough. I mean, did it get rougher in 2020 than it was before? Because yeah, I mean, you go to certain parts of any city, although yes, especially a city like LA, and you will see a lot of homeless and stuff like that. But it's quite, you know, you drive past a couple more blocks and it's completely different. I was hanging around the West LA area, and just driving up and down the PCH to all the cool spots there, and that's just where I found myself enjoying the environment the most. So thank you. I don't count my accent as cute. I'll take it. I count it as highly seductive to myself. But no. So I love the just the coastline of Cali and the like. You know, San Diego all the way up to Malibu are the kind of, you know, and just along the coast is where I find myself a lot of the time. If we don't have any final questions, I think I'll close it off over here. Oh, Puerto Rico is crypto friendly. That's interesting. It wouldn't be completely crypto friendly because it still has the blanket US ban on the unregistered securities. So I don't know if it's going to make a huge difference compared to being in Texas or, well, not Texas, or Florida, for example. But yeah, I think that's still cool. El Villa asking me, Sammy, is your course geared towards beginners? Can you expand on this? I'm new in the market, early 2018. Well, first of all, I think that if you've been in the market since early 2018, that's pretty impressive. I mean, that's quite a long time to be in this market, as it is. You mean that you're talking about nearly 3 years at this point, 2.5 years, so that's quite a while. But yeah, so at the beginning, the first, call it 3 modules, which is probably the first 20% of the course, is all about the absolute beginning stages. And again, I really have to reiterate that the only thing I assume you know when you watch this course at the beginning is I just assume that you know how to click a mouse and you know how to use a keyboard. And beyond that, I'm not assuming any prior knowledge. So I teach it all from the ground up. And that does mean for a lot of people, I'm going to be repeating stuff. But it means that I don't, you know, miss any bases. And this is down to exactly which buttons I'm clicking and what those buttons mean and stuff like that. It's very in-depth and precise, the knowledge I'm teaching in that course. But then yes, it does get dialed up and it turns into something that actually it gets quite intense. In fact, let me see if I can pull up the curriculum and read it to you. It's on Telegram, by the way. I can, if any of you are interested, you can just message me on Telegram, and I'll send you all of the information on it. Here's, like I showed you, another member who ended up joining VIP. So let me just read this out real quick. We've got module 1 to 3 is just the basics, you know, understanding, you know, how the blockchain works, how to send Bitcoin, understanding how to use the TradingView analysis software. A lot of you guys don't know how to use this charting platform, which is super important as an analyst, and I teach you what all of the buttons do. And by the way, that video, I got a lot of criticism from my staff because that video was very long. It's actually, where is it? It's actually 50 minutes long. 50 minutes for me to explain what this what this analysis software does. So I'm telling you everything. And obviously you can skip the parts you already know, so it might turn out you only watch 7 minutes of that 50-minute video. But this is assuming you know nothing. So it's very, very in-depth. And then it goes on to understanding technical analysis. I'm giving you all of the rundown, the full rundown on absolutely all of the technical tools I use and why they're important. And I also got a couple suggestions from VIP members asking me to include some other videos. And literally all I'm going to do is I just need a haircut because I look really messy right now, and a bit of a cleanup with my beard or lack thereof. And then I'm getting behind the camera behind me, and that's where all the 6 monitors are, by the way. You've seen them in the past. That's where I'm going to record it. So literally those videos are just pending a haircut. So sorry for that delay. But that goes over all the technicals. And then this is where it gets very interesting for me, putting those technical analysis pieces into trades. So this is how I translate my technical analysis into actual trades. And then going into even more advanced technical analysis theories, and then good practices and understanding the background of the game. So that's things like psychology. That's things like giving you, my experience on things like joining discussion groups as a trader, what you might want to avoid and what it might be useful for and things like that. Explaining different kind of concepts like self-fulfilling prophecies and what my take on those things are. It is really, really comprehensive. I can't even, list everything that it goes into. But as I said, if you want to gain access to it, then, that course comes completely free of charge with your yearly membership. That's, an entire year in VIP means October of next year is where you start looking at a renewal. So, that's a massive amount of time to be absolutely slaying these markets, hopefully, and seeing how we hopefully do it as well as a team. Because, one of the other things you get access to as a VIP member is all of the real-time updates on exactly what I'm trading and how I'm trading it, down to, what entry level I'm using and what leverage I'm using and the like. So that's a lot of very, very valuable content that you see continuously for a year. And like I said, this is where I think things are really about to start heating up, which means that it's very much a crucial time to be jumping in at this point for a lot of people. And then you combine that with the course. That course is coming for free with your yearly membership. Like I said, huge uptake on it recently, so I think you'll really, really like it. I had a question. What's the smart money doing? Good question. What is the smart money doing? I don't know. I don't know what the smart money is doing. I might say that it's kind of sitting on the sidelines, maybe waiting for something a little bit more definite to happen. Here's the thing. So smart money will typically... When smart money is in, first of all, it's going to be in when everything is quiet. So smart money would have, probably already been in the market. But another point where smart money likes to enter is where it becomes very obvious that the markets are going to keep rising higher. So let me take off my face cam now and show you Bitcoin. Another period where smart money really starts to enter is when it's very obvious that the market is going to explode. And one example of that is right over here, where in my opinion, it was very obvious the market would explode if Bitcoin managed to overcome the resistance level over here. And so it was very obvious it would explode. And this is where money just floods into the market. And it's very clear that that happens because you can see on this chart that Bitcoin in one day shot from a $9,900 all the way up to $11,000 in one day. So, smart money would have gotten in, for example, around over here. Smart money would, and this is the crucial thing. This is what most people don't understand, right? It doesn't matter if smart money didn't get in at $9,000 because it entered the ride late. But look at how much smart money wrote, and smart money is just a random word. Just look at how much this money rode this rally upwards. Yes, you would have missed out if you entered over here. You would have missed out on $1,200. Let me do this on a different chart. You would have missed out on $1,200 of price action if you entered late. I'm going to turn on my face cam for this to really make this point hit hard. You would have missed out on a little bit of profit if you entered over here as opposed to over here. You would have missed out on the first 1,200. But what's the risk, right? The risk over here is You're so close to these support levels, it would have taken only a little bit of power to push us significantly lower and drop below these support levels. So the risk of entering a long position over here was much higher than entering a long position over here. And so yes, you do end up losing a bit of your reward in this area, but your risk gets minimized so much more. So where you might lose 3 arbitrary points of risk, of reward, you also lose 50 arbitrary points of risk. So you lose a little bit of reward and you lose a lot of risk. And that is the special, magic sauce to trading, in my opinion. That's what I want to show you in that's what I show you in the VIP group. That's what members like this guy over here saw within the VIP group. It's not about making a home run trade and absolutely blowing it out of the water. It's just about minimizing your risk enough to the point where the reward looks very, very nice. And then here's the best part. I'm trading this move on leverage. I mean, I don't remember if I traded this move in particular, but there's many examples of where I did. Let me see if I can find. I mean, probably the best example is when I went long on Bitcoin over here and traded this entire move up. But another one might be, when I went short on Bitcoin when it was trading at this level and I knew that it was going to break downwards. I could have entered a short position, for example, over here, but instead I entered around over here. So I entered quite low. I could have entered a lot higher, but I was willing to sacrifice a little bit of risk, to a little bit of reward to massively reduce my risk, and that is what enabled me to close a very easy, very clean 60% profit. Actually, in hindsight, it could have been something like 300% profit, but I closed it too early, and that's just something I had to learn from, and I improved on that because the next time I had that opportunity to trade a massive move, I traded it on this side, and this time it went up to, actually, sorry, I didn't trade it this high, I only traded it up to here, and this time it ended up being a 360% profit. So again, that's an example of me learning from my mistakes and then improving my analysis, but I think that's something that's very, very golden. And I don't know if we're going to call it smart money or what. The name, the label doesn't matter, but what matters is that the people who make money in these markets, they won't worry that they've missed out on a small opportunity in the market, because it might mean they've significantly reduced their risk and then they made up for the reward that they lost with leverage. Because I'm trading this stuff on leverage, so I stand to make a lot more than what Bitcoin actually does. And that to me is a very, very beautiful thing. Again, if these concepts of leverage and going long and stuff like that don't make sense to you, then it's explained fully in the course. I'm not letting you be confused when you start trading with this course. And if anything, by the way, still does confuse you or anything like that, just message me and I will expand on it in a video in the course, or I'll just reply to you directly, or even set up a phone call or something. So we're flexible in that sense. All right, I think on that note, I am going to end this live stream. We've been going on for 1 hour and 12 minutes. I hope you have enjoyed it. We had a couple technical issues, but overall it was quite smooth. Shout out to everyone who lives in LA, including you, Mark. You got me thinking about LA now. I booked a flight ticket to LA for December, but unfortunately, it's going to get cancelled now because Mr. Trump hasn't lifted those restrictions yet. So I, as a UK citizen, cannot enter America at the moment. So I'll be going next year instead. But that's fine. That's okay. I'll just kind of hunker down and enjoy the British winter, I guess. I think for now that's going to be it. Hope you have enjoyed this live stream. Once again, if you do want to get into the group, find out exactly what's on offer, then follow these steps right here. Hit up the likes one more time. Let's get it to a nice number, and then subscribe if you are new to this channel. Obviously, a lot more analysis like this coming at you regularly. Hopefully, more live streams as well. The more the government tells me not to do things like this, the more I will. Only live streams though. I won't break other laws. Well, I'm not breaking a law over here. I'm just teasing the law. But hopefully more live streams and then just more videos in general, always coming at you as well. So there you go. All right, I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.